Good morning and welcome to all those online. Good morning and those in the room. I'm Deputy Mayor Barbara DeBreen, filling in for our illustrious mayor who's joining online. I'll call the meeting to order at 9 a.m. I'll first would like to read our land acknowledgement. As we gather, we recognize and acknowledge the traditional keepers of this land with whom we share today. The Township of Southgate is part of the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, the Six Nations of the Grand River, Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, Haudenosaunee, and Saugeen Métis. The land that surrounds us is part of who we are as it reflects our histories. May we live in peace and friendship with all its diverse peoples. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone registered for open forum?
No, we don't today, Deputy Mayor.
Morning, Jason.
Morning.
Could I get confirmation of the agenda? Martin will move. Jim will second. I'll wait for you to sit.
Oh,
All those in favor? That is carried. Monica, can you hear us now?
I can hear. I'm just working on my camera. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Declaration of pecuniary interest. Hearing none, I'll remind everyone they can declare it at any time should something come up throughout the meeting. We have a delegation, 6.1, the Food Cycler Municipal Solutions, Food Cycle Science, with Maddie Frum participating virtually. Good morning, Maddie. While she's coming online, could I get a mover and seconder? Be it resolved that council receive the Food Cycler Solutions delegation presented by Maddie Frum as information. We'll put it on the floor. Jason, Jim.
Good morning.
Great. Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you. If I'm good to start, I will share my screen.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay. Sorry, I'm assuming you can see that. So good morning, Mayor, councilors, and staff. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Maddie Frum, and I am the Municipal Partnership Representative at Food Cycle Science, and I'm here today to discuss a food waste diversion opportunity for the Township of Southgate. And Deputy Mayor, thank you so much for stopping by our booth at AMO in August. We always appreciate the support. Now, before I start, I will say that I am aware that the Township of Southgate has a green bin collection already. I'm only here to present information on a system that complements your existing program and increases participation in food diversion. So Food Cycle Science is a Canadian company based out of Ottawa that it's 100% focused on food waste diversion solutions. We do this using our innovative technology called the Food Cycler. Our in-home food recycler is sold direct to consumers, to businesses, to classrooms through partnerships with not-for-profit organizations, and to municipalities through our Municipal Solutions Division, which is what I will be talking about today. So we're currently working with more than 150 Canadian municipalities across 9 provinces and 2 territories. You can find us in rural and remote areas and all the way to highly populated cities. Nearby to you, we have programs in Hanover, the Township of Georgian Bluffs, and in Bruce County. These communities have all faced the same things. They have faced challenges with waste management or landfill capacity and are looking for a way to keep food waste out of their landfills. So the problem with food waste is that it's avoidable. It accounts for a large portion of our household waste, often the majority, and it's made up of mostly liquid, which is heavy, and as you know, it freezes in the winter. On top of that, food waste in landfills is responsible for generating the harmful greenhouse gas methane. All of these factors make it so that food waste has a strong municipal impact. One of the impacts to municipalities is that since food waste makes up such a large portion of our waste stream, as you know, it's causing our landfills to fill up quickly. And operating a landfill is costly, so we want to extend the lifespan of them for as long as possible. The environmental impacts that organic waste in landfills produces methane gas, which is 25 times more harmful than CO2. And to put that into perspective, taking 1 ton of food waste out of the waste stream is the equivalent to taking 1 car off the road for the entire year. And then in our communities, putting food waste in the garbage or even the green bin, it causes odors, which is unpleasant for humans, of course, but it's very interesting for animals like bears and raccoons who love to rummage through our trash. So removing food waste from the garbage eliminates these issues and it reduces volume. So we often get asked, haven't we solved this already? And yes, there are green bins, which are a great tool. However, we've seen across the country, green bin programs struggle to get above 40 to 60% participation, meaning that a considerable amount of organics are still just ending up in the landfill. Many people in your community might also backyard compost, and we think that's a great solution. Unfortunately, backyard composting is not feasible for everyone. It's certainly not a year-round solution, and there are still concerns about bears and other animals. And then finally, the easiest solution is to continue to throw our food waste into the landfill. But of course, the long-term impacts are costly and harmful to the environment. So at Food Cycle Science, we've proposed a different way to deal with our food waste, which focuses on making food waste easy to deal with and right in our homes. Essentially, we've built a small kitchen appliance. It's about the size of a bread machine or an air fryer. You put your food waste into the bucket. You put it into the machine, you press a button, and in a matter of hours, you have a dry, sterile, nutrient-dense soil amendment. The machine can be used anywhere with a plug. Most people store it in their kitchen, their basement, or perhaps a heated garage. It can take any food waste, so that's poultry, fish, dairy, even some bones and meat. The food cycler will process on average 1 to 3 kilograms of food waste per cycle. Each cycle takes between 4 to 8 hours to complete and uses about 1 kilowatt hour of power, which is the equivalent to plugging in a computer for the same amount of time. The resulting nutrient soil amendment can be used in your garden, in your existing composting system, can be given to a local farm, or put into the green bin. So here's a look at 2 units we would recommend for your municipality. The difference between the two just comes down to capacity and unit size. So the Eco 3 holds 3.5 liters and is designed for smaller families or spaces like apartments and condos. And the Eco 5 holds 5 liters and is recommended for larger households who would produce more food waste. Both machines are equipped with a refillable carbon filter that eliminates any smells during the cycling process. I like to show this image as it's a really great depiction of what you'll see when you run your food cycler. So the reduction in volume is about 90%, leaving you at the end with roughly 100 grams of soil amendment. The byproduct created during the process is a completely dry and inert biomass that has many beneficial uses. So as I mentioned, you can add it to your soil, you can add it to a backyard composter, an existing leaf and yard waste system. Some people have pelletized it and used it as a home heating alternative, or you can drop it off at a compost site, a local farm, a community garden, or in your case, likely add it to your green bin. From an environmental standpoint, the food cycler is a net negative carbon solution. And that means just like planting trees or using solar panels, when you use the food cycler to avoid bringing food waste to a landfill, in that process, you're actually avoiding more greenhouse gases than you create. And the same can't be said for other municipal operations, such as using waste facilities or waste and recycling collection services, which rely on a large fleet of greenhouse gas emitting vehicles. So in addition to the environmental impact, the traditional method of managing waste is a heavily burdened system with unrelenting costs due to trucking, labor, and maintenance. But the food cycler offers a truly decentralized approach that avoids unnecessary additional labor costs, greenhouse gas emissions from trucking and improper food waste breakdown, and infrastructure costs to the municipality or residents. You create your food waste at home, you put it in the food cycler, and then you can use it in the soil. It's a low-cost method to improving organics diversion and green bin use. The second a food cycler is in a home, there's an immediate and impactful food waste diversion taking place. So one thing we've learned from working with municipalities is that residents are really interested in being part of the solution. They want to try new things, they want options, and they want their government to bring these options to their community. With the food cycler, you get to bring something innovative and tangible to your residents. A solution that's easy to use alongside a green bin, increasing participation in organics diversion all year round and hassle-free. The results from our municipal pilot projects have been overwhelmingly positive. So we're able to achieve a 98% participation rate, a user experience rating of 4.6 out of 5 stars, and a significant amount of net new waste diversion. Many municipalities have expanded their program to more households within the community after seeing how well the initial pilot went. So in Nelson, BC, for example, after running 2 successful pilot programs, they are now putting a food cycler in every home of their city of 11,000 people. The pilot program is just a typical 12-week project. Residents will purchase a food cycler at a subsidized rate from the municipality. They use the unit, they check the number of cycles per week, and then at the end, residents will keep their food cycler. All we ask is that they fill out a survey to give us a sense of the program's success. The results are then presented back to you in a final report or a feasibility study. That data can then be used to support your future waste management decision-making or to accompany a recommendation or grant application to expand the program. And we do offer final report and grant writing support as part of the cost of the program. So the funded pilots work based on the subsidy model where Food Cycle Science will provide a discount, reducing the retail price by 50%. We then ask that the municipality put in a subsidy of $100 per household. And participating residents will then choose which model best suits their needs and contribute the remaining amount. But keep in mind that this is theirs to keep at the end of the day. So here I have some pilot size recommendations for Southgate. For a township of your size, I would recommend the 150 household pilot program. So since the municipal subsidy is $100 per household, a pilot size of 150 households would require an investment of only $15,000 plus applicable shipping and taxes. However, this is just a recommendation. We can always explore different program sizes based on your needs and your budget. So lastly, to summarize, here are some reasons that may resonate with you as you consider whether you should pilot with us. The first is that you'll have an opportunity to trial this technology at well below market rates. You will see an immediate and impactful benefit such as waste diversion, lower disposal costs, and a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. And finally, you can provide your constituents with a low-cost solution, all while being a steward for the environment. We would welcome the Township of Southgate as a partner in the Food Waste Challenge, as I believe that your community is a great fit for the benefits of our program. Today, I ask that you kindly receive my presentation as information, and should there be any interest in working with us on a funded pilot program, that you refer this to staff for a report and recommendation. Thank you so much for allowing me to present to you today. I am prepared to answer any questions you may have at this time. I will stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Maddie. I'll open it up to council for questions. Okay, I don't see any questions at this time. Thank you, Maddie, for your presentation. And did staff want any further direction? Just receiving it for information? It's very thorough, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your meeting.
So I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Right, we have adoption of minutes. Be it resolved that council approve the minutes from the September 18th, 2024 council and closed session meetings as presented. Martin?
I'd like to make a motion to defer approval of the next minutes, defer approval to the next meeting and add discussion of today's minutes in closed session.
So the closed session
The closed session only. So just defer approval to next,
of the closed session minutes.
whichever that
So
would be.
Lindsay, what is the resolution that we would need is that we separate the item, approve the minutes from the open session and defer the closed session to the approval of the closed session minutes
Yeah,
following
through-
discussion in closed session.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I would do an amendment to the motion that approves the open session minutes from the September 18th meeting and defers approval of the closed session meeting minutes to the next meeting following discussion in closed session today.
Okay, so we haven't got a motion on the floor, so we could just create that motion.
Yep.
Martin, you'll move that?
I certainly will.
Any seconder? Joan will second. Any discussion? Brian?
I'm just wondering what the reason is you want this referred to the next meeting. Why?
Martin?
With what's being said in the closed meeting today, I could still, from last meeting, it's all pertinent and it should be together, I think, if that's the best way to explain it.
So I guess my question would be, is there an error in the minutes?
That's to be determined through the discussion in closed session. There may or may not be. And we can't discuss it in open session.
Okay.
Lindsay?
Yep, that's the motion on the floor, moved and seconded then.
Jason? Martin, can you turn your,
Oops.
thank you.
Sorry. I'm not 100%. What? Go through it again.
So the motion right now on the floor is that we approve the minutes from the open session of September 18th and defer the approval of the closed session minutes from September 18th following discussion in closed session today. So the discussion will be to clarify the minutes and
Okay.
they'll just come back at the next meeting. Is that, yeah. Any further questions? I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Reports of municipal officers. The Finance Department, Insurance Renewal, FIN 2024-019, item 8.1.1. We have, be it resolved that we receive the staff report for information and that council approve funding the overage of $15,045 with gapping dollars and tax stabilization reserve if required. Mover and seconder? Joan? Brian? Who's taking that one? Kayla?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. So this is for our annual renewal of our insurance. We've worked with the insurance company closely to make sure everything's up to date, including the values. And it resulted in a 9.9% increase compared to last year. And that's, I'll just take questions.
Thank you.
Sorry, I guess I'd like to go back to the funding part. We did notice that in the 2024 budget, there was a shortage. It wasn't, that 9.9% increase wasn't taken into account. So that's where that $15,000 comes from. So we do need to fund that as well.
Okay. Questions? Martin? And then Joan?
Just out of curiosity, the line for aviation aircraft liability, is that for going to conferences or what's that for?
That would be for the drone.
Oh, for the drone. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay. And the excess, I don't know insurance that well. Excess, follow form first layer, follow form second layer. What may they be? Should I ask an insurance person?
I do remember looking up the details of this, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I can get that information for you though.
Thank you.
Joan?
Good morning, everyone. It's not a question about that. Kayla, I thought we weren't with Intac anymore. Are we back with Intac? Or it's Intac plus the other company?
Yes, so it was the broker that we changed, not the insurance company.
Okay.
Any further questions? Jason?
Yeah, I knew we changed the broker, but we're still with the same company. I remember at last year's budget, it came up about looking, I know there's not too many that insure. Did we ever look into other insurance? I know it came up last year. I know it, and I know it always goes up, it never goes down, but just wondering.
Kayla?
I'm not sure if we did look into, it looks like Dina may, but I know that it is very limited on who we can use for municipal insurance.
Dina? Good
Through
morning.
you, thank you. Good morning. Yes, I do remember our treasurer coming to council to speak about that. Taylor did look into it, and because of the timelines, it wasn't worth it for budget purposes to be able to do an RFP and go forward, but that is on her radar going forward.
Thank you. Any further questions, discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. CAO 2024-016 Volunteer and Community Member Celebration. Be it resolved that staff report CAO 2024-016 be received for information, and that council approve an annual volunteer and community member appreciation event, and that the 2024 event be held at a cost not to exceed $800 funded from the 2024 administration operating budget. Mover and seconder? Brian Martin? Dina?
Thank you. Through you, Chair. This report is simply coming forward as the township has not had events to recognize volunteers and our community, I apologize, our committee members. So this is coming forward just to make sure that we are properly recognizing the people that dedicate a lot of time to our community.
Thank you. Questions? Martin? And then Brian.
Good morning, Dina. So this is the only question I had kind of revolves around the not to exceed the 800. Is this just for the people who, excuse me, the people who are on committees of council, like, or is it for all the community groups? Because quite frankly, if it's all the community groups, there's a lot of volunteers. So I could see it working if each group decided to do kind of follow the same thing and have, okay, we'll pick a volunteer of the year for our group, and then they come and represent that group at a dinner or whatever you have in mind. Because the other way, there's a lot of people. How for $800? That's just going around that point. What can we do for $800 for all the volunteers? Is there some kind of system that we could set up to honor the groups by electing, not by them electing? They know who. Because I don't know how many, there'd be hundreds of volunteers that we'd be looking at.
Dina?
Thank you. So the intention is to celebrate individuals who consistently contribute to the community. I didn't say that there'd be a dinner, but more just a gathering and celebration, and likely, potentially awards people could nominate. In the process, we could get to know more about those community members that dedicate time by contacting them and having them fill out sort of a bio of what they do for the community, and we can start gathering that information and properly celebrating them. Similar to what we did for the business breakfast, the mayor could bring greetings, and we could have a celebration that talks about what these individuals do for the community and allows them to also have a voice on what they do and share their experiences. That's really the intention for this celebration, is really to celebrate them. Staff are not concerned that there would be a significant amount of people at this event. And it's really people who regularly contribute to the community. And we would go from there as far as, improving on our events. We would improve it next year. But I think staff have really demonstrated that they're able to bring together events that celebrate whatever community members we have out there, especially the business community and some of our other celebrations. So that's the intention.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I totally agree with it. It's just going around the $800, like that just seems kind of low. And I didn't mean to say you have to have a dinner, but just some kind of medals or a little token, that's all fine. So my question was just basically around the 800, and if it's going to be a budget line, because it does say annual appreciation event, which I totally agree with too. So
Any other questions? Joan and then Brian. Oh, sorry. Nope. Brian, you were first.
Yeah,
And then
Brian.
Joan.
Yeah.
Brian was first, then Joan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just, I don't really have a question. I just wanted to make a comment that I think this is a really good idea and long overdue. And I thank Dina for bringing it forward, because in the past at various events, certainly our volunteers have participated, but they get lost in the shuffle or the enormity of the group. And I think it's time we take the time to properly thank these folks for their efforts to contribute to the township. And I'm wholeheartedly supportive of this motion. Thank you.
Joan. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. I think it's an excellent idea, but for the planning and everything, and I'm also thinking of who are we recognizing? Is it just the committee members or all the volunteers that volunteered in the township of Southgate? And if we take some out and we recognize them and then we leave the others out, so it's kind of like, what exactly are we doing? Or do we need more time to plan this, to put it together? Given my experience with planning on all these kinds of events, I know it can bring some negative and it can bring some positive. And I also will go back to Councillor Shipson, $800. What are we going to be doing with that? Is it just to give an award or a medal? I can tell you, these are very expensive. They're not cheap. So that's just my input on it. I think it's a great idea, but maybe a little bit more planning, and or we cutting something out to put this in, and what exactly are we doing? It could be maybe more planning and try to think of something for next year and make it into a really good initiative, because it's a great idea. Thank you.
Thanks, Joan. Monica? You're muted, or we don't have audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Thank
sorry
you.
about that. Apologize. Forgot to put my mic on. Anyhow, but thank you so much, and good morning, everyone again. So just with regards to the sentiments that have already been mentioned, just given the alignment with fostering relationships and encouraging volunteerism, this initiative, it does align well with the strategic priorities in Southgate. I would like to echo some of the sentiments from both Councillor Shipson and Councillor John with regards to future planning. So the report does suggest that full details of this initiative have not been fully determined. Is there a timeline that we have in mind for finalizing that format? And will council members have an opportunity to provide further input? And just to piggyback a little bit on that, for budget considerations, I do also agree that 800, the report mentions that the cost for the event will be absorbed within the administrative budget, which also covers the staff Christmas party, if I understood that correctly. Is there any concern that the $800 will be sufficient for this budget for both events? So I think that there might be a little bit of room to understand the timelines, what will be included, and if that money is actually enough to support this initiative.
Thank you. Dina?
Certainly, thank you, Councillor Singh Soares. I think for this year, $800 is sufficient for what we could put together, and I think staff have demonstrated that we're more than able to put something together. It's certainly up to council, but the money is already in the budget. We have a $10,000 line item, so for that line item, which covers the Christmas party, and I have no concerns with being able to cover that cost through that line item. I think it's important that we start recognizing our volunteers and our committee members properly. And I think that staff have the ability to put something together this year. If council doesn't wish to, that's absolutely fine, but it does follow our strategic plan, and that's why we brought it forward today. And we do have time to put an event together for end of November or beginning of December. So it's really up to council.
Thank you. Jason, then Brian.
I guess I'd echo some of the concerns that have been brought up. When it comes to volunteers, there's a lot of people that volunteer that don't maybe necessarily like to be recognized. So I'm just wondering how, like, the $800 to me too seemed pretty low for the amount of volunteers and everything. I just wondering, like, who, how are you going to choose who we're going to recognize or whatever? And out of that $10,000, do we generally use that all for the Christmas party and that, or?
No, there's certainly room to add more budget if council wishes. And my intention would be to invite people. No one needs to be recognized that doesn't want to be, and to recognize people as a whole. The mayor could bring those greetings, but to recognize specific volunteers, it usually comes from nominations from the public, and we put that together, and that's how we would hand out any awards. And we would normally use certificates that are low cost, and yeah, so we're happy to put it together, but also happy to do whatever council wants.
Go ahead, Jason, and then I'll get to you, Brian.
When it comes to the committee members, so we're not inviting them to the Christmas party this year. Is that?
Yeah, this
I can't remember why that was. If you
why that
refresh me.
was?
Yeah.
So it was brought to our attention that, committee members are invited to the staff Christmas party, and it really is not the right place to recognize committee members. There are other considerations with the staff Christmas party and alcohol and liability. But it really doesn't celebrate the committee members at all to invite them to the staff Christmas party. So it's intended that we ensure that we are actually recognizing the individuals in a way that makes their work in the community meaningful. And so that's why we brought forward this recommendation through the community strategic plan that was brought forward by the community. So we are following council's direction by bringing it forward. And yeah, that's the reasons.
Brian?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dina, how many folks typically would come to the Christmas party as we currently have it set up or have had it in the past? Would it be 30, 40 people roughly?
Total? Sorry.
No, for the volunteers or the committee members that currently would come to the Christmas party, is there 30, 40 people? Including
it's a very select little group of maybe 8 or 9 individuals.
Okay, all right, so it's not that many.
It's not recognizing all the volunteers. It's just
right.
A few members.
Thank you for that. So I think we can do a better job of celebrating and appreciating more people in the community that have contributed with a dedicated event for those people. And as it's been pointed out before, this very much is reflected in our strategic plan, our community initiatives, that we need to do something separate and special for our volunteers and committee members. So that's why I think this is a very good initiative to pursue. Thank you.
Thank you. Monica?
Yes, thank you. And again, just want to echo that this is an amazing idea. I think that I think everybody on council and staff, everyone is very supportive of this. It's a wonderful idea. It's great for any municipality to recognize volunteers. I think that something that's kind of coming up perhaps could be that how when we were wanting to focus on being more inclusive and having accessibility for all segments of the community, especially those who are not traditionally recognized. I probably have a little bit of a different idea that maybe we can recognize them more at the Christmas party instead of trying to do something separate, because we're already all there. We have staff there. And if it's just about 8 to 10 people, I guess I'm just trying to understand the separation, and but I do fully support it, and I think it's an amazing idea, and I think it's great. I just trying to understand why we could just, I'm still not understanding why we're not keeping it maybe a bit more recognized at the Christmas party. I'm not sure if that's makes sense what I'm asking, but yeah, I'm not sure if there was something that, some insight on that context.
So what you're asking is why, if it's such a small number of people, why wouldn't we take the time to acknowledge their presence more at the dinner than to not, or just invite them? Dina or Lindsay?
I guess I'll just, through you, Deputy Mayor, I'll maybe speak to Councillor Singsor's comment. From a staff perspective, I think the purpose of the staff Christmas party is to recognize staff, and for us as a group to kind of celebrate together. We are, what do we have, around 55 employees, roughly? But to me, that's still a pretty small number, and we're tight-knit, I would say, employee group. So I think the point of the Christmas party is what staff feel that we could celebrate it together. I think some find it a little bit awkward maybe when they don't know half of the, like, they don't know, a lot of staff don't know the committee members, and I know it's deterred staff in the past from attending the Christmas party when there's people there that they don't know. They're not familiar with a lot of the board members. Library board's invited. Previous, it was police service board and all of our committees. That number is dwindling though, as we've heard here today. We don't have a lot of committees left, so it would only be, I don't know, about 10 people maybe, but I think this event that Dina's proposing is a much better option to celebrate those individuals rather than lumping them in with staff, when staff, you know, kind of like that time with each other and time to celebrate. And we do our staff recognition awards at that event as well. So that's just from my perspective as a staff member. I think it's probably a good thing that it's separated.
Okay. Joan, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you, through the chair. Lindsay, I'm just gonna go back on what you said. How long have we been doing this Christmas party with committee members? And then again, you also said we don't have a lot of committee members left, which is true because most of the committees have been disbanded. And how long have you been doing this, and when did staff realize that they didn't want committee members at the Christmas party? They might say, "Oh well, we weren't we weren't welcomed, or they didn't really like us being there."
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that, and I don't want you to misinterpret what I said, so I apologize if that's what you think. But no, I just think that some may find it awkward just because they go and they don't know some of the people that are there. I know myself, I think it was after the fact, and I seen you at the Christmas party, and I didn't even know who they were, kind of thing. So that's just something that as a staff member, I think it's nicer as a small group of just our staff members, and then we can go with a more community-minded event for those volunteers and committee members. But it is up to council, like our CAO said. I just think that staff may better receive this as a smaller event that's just focused on staff. And we haven't in the past at our Christmas party recognized the committee members at all, which isn't, they're not being recognized there at all. So then they don't get an event really. So I think this is a good alternative. This is just my personal feelings about it that I thought I would share.
Okay, Joan, you still have your hand up? You follow up?
Oh, sorry, just a follow up. So it's just going to be the staff at the Christmas party, not council and not committee member.
Or spouses?
Council is still invited to the Christmas party, yes. It just wouldn't be committee members because they would be recognized at a separate event.
Thank you.
So in the past, it's always been the mayor greeting the individuals, the staff and the committee members. So is it council's appreciation of staff? I just want to clarify that. Still, that's the intent.
I
Dina?
just want to say we're kind of straying from, like, this isn't about the staff Christmas party. This is about a recognition for volunteers. So,
Okay.
we're kind of straying, I think, from the motion.
I think council is just trying to determine what has happened in the past to determine how to move forward.
I understand.
Martin?
Yeah, I totally agree with this. I don't find a problem with it. Again, I'm sorry, didn't press it hard enough. I agree with this. It's okay. Again, the 800, you did say could that be just the benchmark? Because that's what you said, because there is excess cash. So
Certainly.
depending on what you guys plan and if you need more, that's the only thing I'm concerned about. I think it's a good idea to have something separate from them. No worries.
Jason?
Yeah, I definitely agree. It'd be nice to do it. I'm just wondering, yeah, the 800 and you guys, you say you can have it set. I'm just wondering if we're late in the year now anyway, should we wait till budget time and maybe have it in the new year and we could get more details, or I don't know. I'm just wondering because, yeah.
Happy to do it however council wishes. I believe that we would have more room in our budget. If council wished to up the budget, we probably would have upwards of $2,000. If council wanted to up the budget, that's fine as well. It's totally up to you. But I'm just looking for direction at this point.
Martin?
Since it's already in the budget, go ahead. For me, go ahead and do it this year. It's already in the budget, and then you know what to expect next year, because you did say it's going to be a annual thing, which it should be. So, as I said, if the staff already have a plan in place, I say go for it.
Monica? I see your hand.
Hi, thank you. Through you, Chair. I tend to agree with Councillor Rice. Without trying to minimize this, or it just feels like, not invited to the party kind of feeling. I'm so sorry to say it like that, which I know is not the intention at all. I'm just thinking that it may be a little bit better planning if we could look at it next year and allow this year to happen, because a lot of people, we're already looking into Halloween and Christmas and all these things. So I think that a lot of people look forward to this, and I'm almost leaning more to like doing both, like having, because if we're on committees and we have public members on there and town staff and council members, and then we all meet again and it's like the town staff and the council members were at this party, but the public members were not. And I know it's not about the party, but it's kind of included. So I'm starting to, it's again, a really great idea, really great intention. I think that there's a way that we could probably have a bit more future planning and finalizing details, getting a really good budget and more inclusive, and just allowing everyone to come together that are all serving. So the Christmas party, I know the staff are amazing. They're looking to spend time together, which are different opportunities available throughout the year to team building, stuff like that. But the Christmas party is kind of like more, I'm finding it a hard time not to include committee members. So yeah, I just wanted to offer that. And I'm more thinking about the planning the way that Councillor Rice just mentioned.
Brian?
Thank you, Madam
Go ahead.
Chair. I don't think this is about saying, no, you're not invited to the Christmas party. That is certainly not the intent here. But I think how we need to think about this is our volunteers and committee members deserve a separate and directed event for them. Because as it already has been noted at the Christmas party, there's no special recognition for the committee members or volunteers. So to suggest that, I get the awkwardness there. I get that. But that's not how you should look at this. Look at it from the standpoint, this is a separate and special event for the committee members and volunteers. It's dedicated to them and thanking them specifically for their efforts over the course of the year. And I think there's plenty of time to organize something of that nature. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Is there any other discussion?
One quick
Dina?
one. Oh, sorry.
I'll
If-
come back
if
to you,
I could
Monica.
Just add the other reason for a separate and event is that our committee members are dwindling, and what we need to do is recognize them and spark some motivation for some other members in the public to join these committees, to get involved, to, you know, have that sense of community. That's one of the reasons for having a separate and special event for them. That, you know, and to combat that, the dwindling kind of volunteers that we have, I think it's really important that we start communicating to other members in the community about just how Southgate appreciates their volunteers and what they can do for the community. So that's the last thing I'll say, and I'll leave it in your hands.
Thank you, Monica.
Quick point. Absolutely, Mayor. I agree with you. And also, Dina, what you just said is fantastic. I think that there's room for more planning. And that I guess my answer would be like, why not both? Like, and then this goes into planning, like maybe having more engagement, more discussions, more consultation. Because as we know, optics play a part, perception, and as much as we believe people should feel certain ways, they, you know, there could be some more area for consultation. So for myself, I 100% support recognizing volunteers. People on here are all volunteering in different capacities, so we understand that part of it. For me, at this moment, I'm not comfortable to vote in support of this in this format, but I am in support of what Councillor Rice was saying, to allow everyone this year, and then we can have some more time to plan and have more discussion about it, because we want, this is also for the benefit of the discussions today, that they're received in a way that's positive, just in case. So it's kind of just for everybody.
Are you moving an amendment, Monica?
I could, but I know Councillor Rice had brought that forward, so if he wanted to move it, I would support it. If I don't know if I'm allowed to
I'm
ask
not
that.
sure what we're moving, but Jason, did you want to elaborate?
No, I don't want to. I guess I was just questioning, and now that I've heard from staff, and there is only that many committee members, I'm not too worried, but I just want to make sure we do when we do this for the volunteers, we do it right. That's kind of what I was saying. So I think I'm okay with it now. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to relinquish the chair. If you don't mind, Jason, taking the chair. Because I did want to chime in on a couple of things. And I guess one of the questions that comes to mind is the resolution says volunteer and community member appreciation event. From the discussion, I'm gathering this is about committee volunteers, not the community at large. Our Southgate committee volunteers, and perhaps you can elaborate, does it include the formal committees of the many organizations like Optimists, Agricultural Society, Southgate Community Fund? Can you just elaborate on who you're intending this particular event in 2024 to be for?
Yes, I think I mentioned the intention is to celebrate individuals who can consistently contribute their time. So we have committee members that do that, and any other organizations that council feels should be involved.
Okay, I'm in agreement with the rest of council in that it could be as small as 50 people, but it could be upwards of 500, depending on how many volunteers decide to come out. And I think I'm 100% supportive of a volunteer appreciation event. I think we could do a really great new tradition starting in 2025. Keep it small and just our committee members, our Southgate committee members that were active in 2024, invited and recognized as we traditionally have, and start a new tradition in 2025 that we can plan and advertise and really celebrate all of the great things that our community members come together on. I have a grave concern that $800 is not going to be enough when you open it up to all of the organizations that do so many events in our community. Our Southgate is Southgate because of the people who put on the various festivals and the various the new events that are coming into the community to celebrate our growing community. I'm not sure where I'm going with this because I find that the language in the second clause means that it's open to all. I could get around if we had a separate event just for our Southgate committee members this year. That would satisfy staff's concerns. Council and the CAO and various staff, senior management could have an event with the committee members throughout, even the ones that were disbanded, and their spouses, to thank their spouses for the time that the committee member has given up. That would satisfy staff's concerns about the staff appreciation day. And then in 2025, we could actually look at having an annual volunteer appreciation event, whether that's part of, recreation weekend or other tag it on. So I'm not sure. I'm going to move an amendment for consideration that changes the second clause, that council approve a Southgate committee member appreciation event in 2024, and that the cost not exceed $800 funded from the administrative operating budget. I think that satisfies us recognizing our committee volunteers and a commitment. And we should have an additional clause, and that council consider an annual volunteer appreciation event in 2025.
May I ask a quick question?
I don't have a seconder.
Oh.
I'll come to you, Monica. I think Lindsay's trying to craft something here for my amendment.
Point of order,
Sorry.
Madam,
Wait.
Point of order. Deputy Mayor, you're not in the chair.
Sorry. Yep, you're
Yeah, sorry,
right. Sorry, Brian, you're right.
So you're
Please.
moving the amendment?
I'm moving an amendment.
The amendment. Do we have a seconder then for that amendment? Or are we waiting for Lindsay to?
Joan or Mon?
I think we're waiting on her to.
So the amendment would be that council amend the second and third clauses to state that council approve a committee member appreciation event in 2024 with costs not exceeding $800 funded from the 2024 administration operating budget, and that council consider an annual volunteer appreciation event beginning in 2025.
So do we have a seconder for that? Monica, I guess seconds it. So now we'll go back to the original one. Or discussion on that. Jim?
So I think if we did do that, then why wouldn't we just have the Christmas party? Keep it with the, I know Christmas parties in the private sector, you deal with, staff, but you also have customers, dealers, suppliers and that coming to a Christmas party, which is actually a good way to mingle and meet new people. That's just a comment more or less.
Any other comments or? Monica?
Thank you, Councillor Rice, Chair. Yeah, so I really appreciate Councillor Ferguson sentiment, because I think that's also what I was hoping to convey. So that's perfectly well said. I think that it helps to bring everyone together in one event. It's a nice thing. I just also wanted to kindly ask Deputy Mayor, just so for my understanding that I do like what you were saying. So just so I have a better understanding that this year, we would have an $800 possible event for the committee members, and then going forward, looking at an annual event. I know you said that, I just want to make sure I understood it.
That was my intent.
Okay. Thank you.
So the amendment takes precedence, Chair Rice. That's what's on the floor.
So we're voting on the amendment. All those in favor? All those opposed? That passes.
So now you go to the main motion as
Oh, yeah.
amended.
So back to the main motion. Do we have to have discussion on it again, or no? We shouldn't know. All those in favor of the main motion? Oh, as amended, sorry, yeah. All those opposed? That passes. I'll turn it back over to.
Thank you. We'll now move on to CAO 2024-017 Agreement Timelines Block 58-59. I get a mover and seconder to receive it for information, approving the development timeline extensions in the report, and that a bylaw to approve the amended agreement be considered. Need a mover and seconder. Jason? Brian? Discussion? Staff? Dina?
Thank you, Chair DeBreen. I do have to clarify one item in this report. I noted in the report that the developer had paid the performance deposit. We have not received the check, but we have proof that it was sent by Purolator yesterday, so we should receive it today. So I would probably suggest that we add to a clause to this motion that we approve the development timeline subject to receiving the performance deposit check. So this extension, as you know, this is a property that the township owns that was sold to this developer to create some rental affordable housing alongside of their other development of condominium. There have been significant delays with the GRCA, as well as with the I wish Jim was here to explain the servicing, but there are some challenges with servicing that need to be solved, and so studies are required. So staff have no concern with moving this forward. The developer is keen to continue to move forward and has kept in contact with staff, and we tried to assist them with communication with the GRCA as well through their transition period as well. So staff have no concerns, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Just to clarify then, subject to receiving the performance check, are we going to consider a bylaw at a later date?
Correct. Thank you. I forgot to mention that at the next meeting. We're actually asking, once this is approved, we will ask the developer to have their lawyer amend the agreement. And then we'll bring the amending agreement back to the next meeting.
Okay, so now we all know. Questions? Martin?
Yep, thank you. So the GRCA is basically the one holding everything up, and this is the one in town, right?
Yes, it is the 240 Owen Sound Street.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it is the one in town, and the GRC has gone through some difficulty with staffing, so it was hard to have.
okay.
There was a period where it was really difficult to get comment back. So it took a few months to get comment back. And then when they did look at it, they did not do a site visit, but when they did look at it, there were additional studies required that will take a better part of a year to do.
Oh,
So they've
okay.
already missed their timelines, but not through their fault.
Okay.
Monica? You're muted, Monica.
Thank you so much. Just through you, Chair, to CAO. I hope I said this right, but my understanding is that the developer has paid 10% of the performance deposit, which the township retains, as I understand, as liquidated damages. So if the new timelines are not adhered to, what assurance do we have that the developer will meet the new deadlines? And I hope I asked that right.
Okay. Through you,
Oh, yeah.
Chair. Thank you, Councillor Singh-Soares. That is actually very close to being correct. So the performance deposit will go back to the developer unless they miss the timeline. So if they miss those timelines, the township keeps that $7,100 and does not return it. But they are very motivated to bring it forward. So I don't anticipate any issues, and they've requested a timeline that should work given the studies that they're required to do.
Just a quick follow-up.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
So the revenue from the sale of the township land is expected to be accounted for in the 2025 budget. So how will any further delays impact the budget if additional extensions are requested down the line?
If any additional requests for extension were received by staff, we would bring it to council for approval again, and we'd have to determine at that time based on what the extension was. The closing date has to be extended, which is why the funds for the lands aren't going to be realized by the municipality until that closing date happens. So in the future, if they wanted to move a due diligence period forward again, then we would have to move forward the closing date, which would affect the next budget.
I just have one more quick follow-up to that, Chair. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Monica.
Thank you. So I guess I'm just looking from a safeguarding point of view in order to support it. So I'm just wanting to ensure that there are safeguards in place to hold the developer accountable to the new timeline, and that the township continues to prioritize affordable housing. So is it possible to speak a little bit more about the safeguards if something were to happen along the lines?
Certainly. In the agreement itself, there are safeguards for the township to purchase the property back should the developer not make the timelines. In this case, there's an added safeguard with the performance deposit.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Jim.
Yeah, so the big holdback is this GRCA is the big holdback. Does none of this fall under the build home, like they're trying to get the homes built? Is there no way to force them to move any quicker? It seems like you have these groups that can hold up and tie people up for a long period of time, and there's no accountability for these groups.
Yeah, that's really correct. It's a conservation authority, and they have authority over that watershed. And perhaps the deputy mayor might even chime in on what those responsibilities are for the conservation authorities. And they do have the ability to require certain studies. And the servicing in this case in the drain is a specific issue in that area. So they do require the studies.
Thanks for passing
Sorry.
the ball over
Thanks.
here. So they have responded. They were late in responding, but they're requiring an EIS study, which is actually a requirement which takes a year. They have to do a 4-season environmental impact study to determine about species at risk and all of that, which is standard procedure now that the province took away the ability for a GRCA to waive an EIS study. Go ahead.
So why were they late though?
The CAO has indicated they had staffing issues.
They had a lot of challenges with staffing and had to kind of do a rejig of things and yeah, it happens. I'm sure the deputy mayor's had some of that experience on the other Conservation Authority board. But yes, so they did have some challenges there with their staffing and they did their best for us, but certainly understandable.
Okay, all right. Monica,
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So my question is actually along the lines of the EIS timeline, which I think has been almost answered. Just to expand onto that, because I was wondering about the 9 to 10 months with regards to the expected timeframe. Now, Councillor Ferguson just asked if there was a possibility in expediting this process. And I was wondering if there was going to be any way that as a township, we can support the developer. However, I believe Deputy Mayor, you just mentioned some of the answer to that. So I guess my next question would be, what happens if the multi-seasonal data that's required for the EIS extends beyond the projected timelines? What would happen then?
Ina?
They would request another extension if that was the case. And I'll sorry, I just add that staff are very supportive and have been really assisting the developer as far as we can. But there are certain things that we just need time to do, such as the EIS study.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Just a quick question, Dina, could you elaborate on the just development timelines, commence construction, where it says 24 months from date of property transfer, but they're requesting November 1st, 2025 to be the date of the transfer or commence construction?
The date on or about November 1st, 2025 would be property transfer.
Okay. Because then it talks about substantial completion on or about November, 48 months from November 1st, 2025. Is that, I'm just wanting
Yeah.
to understand where that date
Apologies.
comes in.
Yes, it says, so for commence construction, it says 24 months from date of property transfer, which is approximately December 26, 2026. And the requesting a date on or about, I apologize, I should have put some more wording in there. That is the closing date. So that's a little confusing, apologies. And substantial completion would be approximately December 26, 2028, 4 years,
Right.
48 months.
So they're not, and I apologize for being in the chair here asking this question, but so the substantial completion of the project is 2028.
Yes.
What is the November 1st, 2025 reference?
Yeah, apologies, that should not be there. It should just be the
Oh.
dates that are in brackets, the November 1st, 2025. I'm sorry, it was a very last minute
No.
sticking the dates in.
It's okay.
November 1st, 2025, that is the date, that earliest date that we could close on the property with all of the due diligence periods, with all of the due diligence timelines above. Yeah,
Okay,
apologies.
that makes sense. Monica?
Yes, thank you, Chair. And I just wanted to say I can so appreciate how timelines and trying to get everything to work is like, it's like art, you know, to say that. So thank you, CAO, for your indulgence in answering. So mine is also a bit focused on the contingency planning. If further delays do arise from the GRCA review, or other unforeseen factors, as we have seen can happen, is there a plan in place to handle the additional extensions? Meaning, will there be like penalties for further delays beyond the extension? And is that already included in the report, or is there some way that we can find out what that may look like?
Go ahead.
Yeah, it really is up to the developer to meet their timelines. The agreement has some safeguards for the township, and if they don't meet their timelines, we could request buyback of the property. And if they needed an extension, they would have to come back, but it really is up to the developer. There's only so much the township can do for them. Yeah, it's up to them.
Thank you.
And not to predict anything because we were hoping that the environmental impact study comes back favorable, that could change the development entirely.
That's
So
correct.
we don't know.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. That's correct.
Okay, I see no further hands. I'll call the question
Deputy Mayor.
as
Sorry,
amended.
Deputy Mayor. Can we just do an amendment to
Yes.
add to the second clause? That the development timelines
Subject-
are approved subject to receipt of the 10% performance deposit?
Yes, and I was actually just going to ask, could that be a friendly amendment by the mover and seconder?
Yeah.
Jason and Brian, are you okay with that? Yep. Okay, I'll call the question, subject to receiving the performance standards deposit. All in favor? That is carried. I think it's time for a recess. Is 5 minutes sufficient, staff? 10 minutes. We'll come back at 10:15. How's that? 6 minutes. 1 minute warning. We'll wait for our online friends to join us. Okay. We are now on to 8.3.1, HR 2024-006, Waste Attendant. I need a mover and seconder that we receive the staff report for information and that the council approve the addition of a permanent part-time waste attendant beginning October 2024 at a cost of approximately $15,000 annually. Get a mover and seconder, please. Martin, Jim, discussion, Kayla.
Hello again. We are bringing this report forward because we've identified that we should have another operator, another waste attendant in our Egremont site. Currently, we do have one individual that works there by themselves quite often. It can get busy and somebody can only be one place at a time. There's also a health and safety aspect to it when we're evaluating the working alone. So we are proposing to implement this sooner than later.
Thank you, Kayla. Questions, discussion? Martin.
Kelly, will this person be looking mainly at with the has-been when it goes there? Or does that lady go with it from site to site? Either way, it's needed. I can see the sense, but.
Yes, thank you. We do have a waste attendant that moves with the has-been. So wherever it is, she is. Yeah.
Any other question? Jason.
So with an extra person, sometimes we hear they're not open enough. Would we be open any more hours with this extra body if at all, or?
Kayla?
So for this report, no, I think it could be evaluated during the 2025 budget and discussions with Jim.
Any other discussion? Good report. And is the 15,000 annually, or so it wouldn't in the 2024, it's not a total of 15,000 for the balance of the year?
Yes, that's correct. I think I have it in here. It's around 3,500 for 2024.
Awesome. All right. I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Kayla. Move on to the planning department. Victoria is on the hot seat today. PL 2024-085, zoning bylaw amendment C23-24, Dennis and Jackie Groves. The resolution is there. Got to get a mover and seconder to put it on the floor. Martin and Jason. Sorry, Jim.
Sorry, was it Jason or Jim?
It was Jim. But I was corrected before things flew across the table. Victoria.
Perfect. So let me jump right in. So this report is for the rezoning file to implement conditions of severance file B724. The lot line adjustment transfers about 4 hectares from the applicant's 7.9 hectare parcel. And they're transferring it to a neighbor to the south and increasing the neighbor's size to about 11.7 hectares with 195 meters frontage after the conveyance. The abutting lands are also currently vacant. There was a file approved under A624 by committee, which allowed 150 square meters home industry. The applicant retains approximately 3.78 hectares, which contains an existing residence, pond, and some accessory structures. And also there was a planning justification report submitted to support the lot line adjustment and the rezoning. The subject lands were previously rezoned under exception A199, which addressed the undersized lot and frontage. And the rezoning today now addresses the new lot areas for both parcels. And some comments just to briefly highlight, they're shown on page 3 of the report if you want to take a further look. Just to highlight, Township Public Works requires a 3-meter road widening on Southgate Side Road 21, and the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority requires the applicant obtain written permission prior to any development within the regulated area. And the proposed rezoning addresses the reduced lot area of 3.5 hectares for the applicant's lands and 11 hectares minimum lot area for the abutting lot to the south to implement conditions of B724. And going forward, any regulations are subject to A1 for both lots, and they currently comply. So staff proposed to repeal the provisions of the A199 zone and update it to include regulations applicable to both lots impacted by B724. And just a note, the EP boundary will not be impacted. So staff recommend approving the rezoning, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Well, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Bylaw for the same file. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2024-116 be approved, read first, second, third time, find a pass, signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Mover and seconder, Brian and Jim. Any questions, discussion? All in favor? That is carried. PL 2024-086 zoning bylaw 2024-24 John M.S. Martin, that we receive it for information and that we approve bylaw 2024-117 to rezone 146024 Southgate Road 14 to permit 750 square meter on-farm diversified use metalworks, office, and power room with 500 square meters of outside storage, eliminating the limitation of 4 non-resident employees, and that site plan approval and the Ontario Building Code apply to the proposed expansion. Mover and seconder, Jason and Jim. Victoria.
Perfect. Okay. The applicant is proposing to increase the maximum floor area for the existing OFDU from about 720.9 square meters to 750 maximum. And they also want to remove the maximum number of non-resident employees on the site. Currently, there's a maximum of 4 non-resident persons. The proposed expansion won't increase the total area of the rezoned area. And it won't change the existing tree buffer or the overall site design as well. The subject lands has about 305 meters frontage on Southgate Road 14 and about 20.4 hectares in lot area. The OFDU is also zoned A1532 to permit the existing metal workshop and power room with 475 square meters outdoor storage. There was a site plan agreement that was signed and approved under file SP 515 in 2015. There's also an operable pit located to the west of the subject lands and several other farms containing OFDUs, which are located near the property. Some comments to highlight on page 3. Township Public Works notes an existing commercial entrance, and Grey County staff have no concerns provided D6 guidelines can be addressed. Since this is already a functioning OFDU, it already complies with the D6 guidelines. So staff recommend the approval of the rezoning to increase the maximum floor area and remove the limit of the non-resident employees. The addition will require a permit under the Ontario Building Code to allow the Township Building Department to assess the adequacy of washrooms in the septic systems. And I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Monica.
Thank you. Just through you, Chair, and hi, Victoria. Always great to see you. I just had a question with regards to the OFDU or on, excuse me, on-farm diversified use. So the proposals does seek to expand the area for the OFDU in a small amount. Are there any long-term plans for further future expansion of the ODFU, and how will the township ensure that future expansions remain within the guidelines for secondary agricultural use?
Yeah, through you. There's no expansion to the rezoned area, so it's about 3,992 square meters in size. They're just adding an office addition. So they're just trying to accommodate, I guess, adding more workers. There wouldn't be any impacts to the surrounding area since it's an ongoing use. And it stays within the official plan allowment of 750 square meters for the OFDU workshop. Hope that answers your question.
I just had a follow-up, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, that does help to answer, actually. Just one thing about the building regulations and site plan approval. When we're taking a look at the report, it does mention that the Ontario Building Code and site plan approval will apply. Are there any anticipated challenges in meeting these requirements, particularly regarding the need for additional washrooms or septic systems due to the increased employee count? Because I know that's sometimes an issue that does come up whenever we're doing building. So I've never learned so much about septic issues until doing these reports.
Go ahead, Veronica.
Yeah,
Victoria,
through the chair. I don't know specifically. That would be up for the building department to assess that when the time comes. But yeah, they would have to assess the adequacy for the washrooms and the septic system to make sure that they can service the additional employees. Sorry, I don't know much more about that for the Ontario Building Code. I hope that kind of answers it.
That makes sense.
any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. The bylaw for the same file, bylaw 2024-117 for John M.S. Martin, mover and seconder. Martin and Jim. Any discussion? All in favor? That is carried. Bylaws and motions, there are none. Notice of motion? None. Consent items, regular business, none. 11.2 correspondence. Be it resolved, there's one item, the SVCA 2024-07-18 board meeting minutes. I get a mover and seconder, Jim and Joan. Any discussion? All in favor? Receiving that for information? That's carried. There are no resolutions of other municipalities. We do need to go, pardon me? It's just a consent, yeah, closed session consent item, personal matters about identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employee, Southgate Claims Audit, FIN 2024-019. Could I get a mover and seconder to receive it for information? Martin and Joan. If there's any discussion, we'd have to take that into closed session. Seeing no hands, all in favor? That is carried. County report. Brian, would you like to update us on county activities?
Maybe not on county specifically, although yesterday I was at or Monday and Tuesday, I was at a conference in Tiverton at Bruce Power for the Clean Energy Frontier, and the Nuclear Innovation Institute was the sponsor, or one of the sponsors for that. It is amazing the work that's going on in the nuclear industry. One of the speakers mentioned that there are times where the stars align and nuclear energy sort of has a path of least resistance forward, and this seems to be one of those times. Nuclear energy, of course, is clean, low carbon energy. It's not cheap to build, but it's extremely cheap to run. And It has very low impact on the environment. There's a lot of interesting things going on with medical isotopes, not the least of which are going on for medical use. So, yeah, so that's what I've been doing the last couple days anyway, and that's likely where I got this freaking cold. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Well, we're hope you're feeling better. And
Whiskey is a marvelous thing.
oh, so that's why you just because you couldn't drive and yeah, okay. All right. Well, I can remind everyone that the county meetings are recorded and up on their YouTube channel for viewing pleasure at any time. Members' privilege, good news and celebrations. Monica.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say congratulations to JCI for an amazing Truth and Reconciliation program that was done Monday, sorry about that, September 30th. It really brought the community together and I really enjoyed it. I got to see our MP, Alex Ruff was there, our Honorable MPP, Rick Byers, our very own Warden and Mayor, our Deputy Mayor, and I'm sure all many others that were there. So really great feedback and met people who came far and wide. Some of the leaders from the Indigenous came all the way from Bruce Peninsula. So again, great effort and brought everyone together. And I just wanted to also mention about National Disability Employment Awareness Month. So October does mark NDEAM, a time to celebrate the valuable contributions of individuals with disabilities in our workforce. It's an opportunity to highlight the importance of inclusive hiring practices and creating equitable opportunities for everyone in our community. I encourage everyone to reflect on how we can continue to support and promote accessible employment, ensuring that our community remains a place where all individuals can thrive. And so just wanted to share that with everyone.
Thank you, Monica. Joan, you have your hand up?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. I want to congratulate Brenna and the Economic Development Department and Mural Roots on that wonderful festival that we had over the weekend. I was there Friday night and Saturday. It was just wonderful to see the amount of people that came out, and it was just wonderful. The artists, the children, the face painting, the music. Of course, I hope I'm not on any of these camera dancing in the street because I did have fun doing that. So it was really great. And the turnout was just wonderful. It was a great success. Thank you. The township really came together for that.
They sure did, Joan. Thank you for mentioning that. It certainly was, and it was a perfect weekend for it. The weather really cooperated, although I think the artists would have preferred less sun, but they're just remarkable. And Councillor Shipston just couldn't help himself. He was part of the painting expertise. So congratulations to all. Joan, you still have your hand up, or do you have another?
Sorry, I just forgot to mention, I forgot about Councillor Shipston. Thank you so much for being one of the judge. And I know Councillor Suarez was there on Sunday. I wasn't there on Sunday, but yeah, everybody came out and support. So that was just great. Thank you. Let me take my hand down.
Well, that's great. Any other news celebrations? Okay. We do have a closed meeting it's 10:35. To go into closed session at 10:35 in order to address matters relating to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, labor relations or employee negotiations, service delivery model, and personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees and labor relations or employee negotiations, risk mitigation. And do we need to add the closed session minutes for discussion, or does that fall into one of those? Okay. And that all those required remain in attendance. Mover and seconder? Jason, Monica? All in favor? That is carried. We are in closed session. See. I can disclose that we only discussed matters for which we went into closed session to discuss. Lindsay, do we have a motion coming out? No. Okay, and confirming bylaw. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2024-118 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings. Did I get a mover and seconder? Jason, Jim? All in favor? That is carried. Adjournment. Brian and Monica at 12:12. We are
Thank you all.
all in favor?
Ciao.
Have a good afternoon. Feel better.